I will send out a Happy Father's Day to all of Dad and includes mine. Happy Father's Day.
What?
Okay, I just back from Foreign Future Boot Camp. Online take place in Corralville, Iowa. It was pretty good. I learned from estate planning with Roger Mead Congwan. from Washburn. Joe Biden will take a look at the law. Good morning.
uh.
Good morning. We got to talk about estate planning.
Mm, mm, mm.
Good morning, Dale.
Good morning, Caesar.
How are you, Dale?
I am excellent. It's a wonderful morning here. How are you?
Mm, mm.
I'm doing good, just back from Foreign Future
Was
Boot
Farm
Camp
Future
online.
Boot Camp.
Are you ready?
I am almost ready. Can you, I have a lady friend here who would like to meet you. Can you show show yourself on the screen before we get started? Oh, there he is.
He's outside. Can you see us?
Hello.
No.
mm,
Does all this with his eyes. Just hey, this is Elizabeth.
Hi,
You can see
Caesar.
her. Dr. Howell.
No, I can't see you guys.
Oh, can't see us. Okay. Okay. How do I do this? Oh, here we go. Okay, can you see us now?
mm, mm.
I'll stop.
Your wife.
Okay. How do I switch to back to his? Stop video. Okay. You're the professor. How do I get back to his screen?
Your wife. Dale.
Should be in. Zoom. Go down to
Share screen.
stop share screen. Stop it.
Okay.
You can unshare it.
Yeah, can you unshare me?
What up with your camera?
Mm. Mm.
He's showing me what to do here, but I can't. Thumbnail isn't big enough. I'm sorry, Caesar. I'm trying to get back to your screen. I don't know how to.
Looks like you have a maximize option there. Just make it full screen.
Yeah. Okay, there we are. Like your cornfield in the back.
Good.
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
You need to try that so you can see the texting.
Yeah. I need to be able to see your texting here. Oh, there we go. He's talking. Technology is great when you can. I'm sorry I'm so technologically incompetent, Caesar. Okay, now I can see your screen. Okay, perfect.
Your wife.
No, it's my girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Never mind. Good morning. Welcome to Bax Road of Illinois on Foreign Progress. Good morning. Welcome to Bax Road of Illinois on Foreign Progress with Dale Sticker from Kansas and Green Cover Crop Seeds Co. in Nebraska.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
How is it in Kansas and Nebraska?
It is very hot and windy right now. We are right around 100 degrees and probably 25 to 30-mile-an-hour winds. So, which is very good when you're getting close to wheat harvest.
It's a dry heat.
It is, depending on where you are in Kansas and Nebraska, it's a dry heat. It's pretty humid right where I am. We had 2 inches of rain last Friday, so it's pretty humid and steamy here now.
Me too.
Yeah, I understand Northern Illinois is in a horrible drought right now.
Yeah, it is.
I don't like it.
I don't imagine anybody likes it. It is not good for the corn crop for sure. Things are going well here. Very well.
It's weird how are things within a couple months. Tell me about how did you meet with Keith Byrne?
I first met Keith Burns. He was actually I worked for a competitor of his, and so he was a rival seed dealer. I was working for a different company, so we would bump up against each other and trying to sell to the same people, and it always seemed like he was always one step ahead of me in everything, in technology, and so I always, he was the rival that I always admired, and so when I got an opportunity to work with him, I was really excited.
In Nebraska?
Yes, both Nebraska and Kansas. Green Cover Seed actually does more business in Kansas than we do in Nebraska. That's why we bought a warehouse in Kansas and why I moved down here to this part of Kansas. And so he and Green Cover Seed first got started basically an organization called No Till on the Plains, which was based out of Salina, Kansas, which is on the intersection of 2 interstates, I-70 and I-135. And they would hold this annual no-till conference. And originally it was all about, well, machinery and controlling weeds with herbicides instead of tillage. And they had a speaker from South America come and talk about cover crops. And that's how, and Keith and Brian Burns were on the board of the no-till on the plains, and that's how they decided to get started in the cover crop business. It was basically to buy their own seed. They couldn't find places to buy all the seeds they wanted, so they said, well, let's just start our own business and source these seeds, and just started in their garage and built from there. Now they have a huge operation, sell about 25 million pounds of seed a year. How did I start to work with Keith?
Okay, Keith was in the
I
New York
had,
Times with his family.
Taken a job.
How did you start to
with,
work with
Bayer
him?
USA, working with their mycorrhizal fungi project, and Keith was actually one of my customers, and so I was selling to him, and I would come and visit, and I just loved the culture. I loved the family, and they just seemed like an organization that I really wanted to work with. And so I kept dropping hints that I would really like to work for them, and I became progressively more assertive about asking if they would hire me, and eventually they did. So I was excited to jump on board with them, because I've been a cover crop nut for ever since the mid 1980s. It's really been an interest area for me. How did I decide to work with cover crops? Where I grew up in southeast Kansas, actually in an area where brick making bricks for housing, a huge industry here, because our soil is extremely heavy clay, just very dense. It's very good for making bricks. It's not very good for farming. The clay is so tight and heavy that water just doesn't soak in when it rains, runs right off. And the root systems of plants are really stunted, because they just can't grow through that dense clay. There's not enough oxygen penetration. So when I grew up, every spring our crops would look beautiful, and in midsummer they just wilt, because if we go a week without a rain, our crops just really start to suffer. And you go a month without rain, they'll just die. And that's despite getting 36 inches of rain a year. I just grew up thinking that was normal. And that's how it was everywhere. And I just assumed that, where you are in Illinois, and in Iowa and all the other I states, it must just rain all the time. And I was shocked when I went away to college, and I found out that we get the same amount of rain that you do. It's just that you have wonderful soil, and we had nasty clay. So I had a roommate in college who was using cover crops, and he told me about what it did for the soil, and I tried them and got hooked, and that was back in the mid 80s. And I've been playing around with cover crops ever since. I planted my first one in 1988.
But it's in Great Plains now.
Yes, the part of Kansas where I live now is actually straight south of Kansas City, pretty close to the Missouri border, and about 40 miles from the Missouri border, and about 80 miles from the Oklahoma border. So right down in pretty close to the Ozarks, and So fairly heavy rainfall where I am now. In Kansas, the rainfall has in the very southeast corner, we have about 40 inches of rain a year. And when you get out to the west edge of the state, it's about 15 inches of rain a year. So great variability as you go from east to west across the state. Yes.
Did you grow up in the farm?
My father was a sharecropper, at least to begin with. He just went around. He saved up all his money from stacking little square bales of hay, and went around, and he bought a tractor and a disc and a planter, and went around door to door, knocked on doors, and asked to rent land. And that's how he got started farming. And he eventually he did very well because he worked very long hours, and ended up farming quite a little bit of land, and then eventually buying quite a bit of land. And so we raised hogs, we had cattle and crops, and depending on the year, we had ducks, chickens, sheep, goats, you name it. I was a great accumulator of wild animals in my younger days. I had always had some sort of critter in a jar, but I was never really interested in farming growing up. It just seemed like a lot of endless work and drudgery that I didn't care for. I didn't like my time on the tractor. Just seemed really boring to me. And it wasn't until I went to college and all my roommates were agriculture majors. I was an engineering major, and they would come home from class and just have all these interesting discussions about what they learned in class, and I had nothing. The things I was learning in engineering classes, I was not nearly as interesting as what they were learning in their classes. So I eventually did switch my major and became what the last thing in the world that I thought I wanted to be, and that was an agriculture major. And so it was a 180-degree change for me. And really the only reason I wanted to get into engineering was because it had the highest exit average salary. They had all the different college majors listed out in order of salary, and engineering was the highest. So that's what I wanted to be, because I wanted to make money. That's why a lot of people go to college. You get a good high paying job, and looked to me like engineering was the best. But once I got into it, once I got in school, I learned I really missed the farm. I missed being outdoors. I missed interacting with nature. And the cover crop thing really excited me because, number one, it was a way of working with nature. And number two, it was a means of fixing that heavy clay soil that I'd grown up with. And the way you fix
Are you kidding me? To be engineering?
almost every soil problem is with soil organic matter. And how do you get more soil organic matter? Well, you can import it. You can cart it in from somewhere else, haul in manure, compost. That's really expensive, and you're not really increasing soil organic matter. You're just moving it from one place to another. So the cover crop concept really fascinated me.
Which college did you work?
I went to Kansas State University. Like I said, I started out in engineering, and then changed my major, and I actually got two bachelors. I kind of wanted to teach high school science, so I got a degree in teaching high school science, secondary education, and then I also got an agronomy degree. Yeah, go Wildcats, absolutely. So, and then I was well, when I went to do my student teaching semester, I would actually, my declared major was secondary education. And that's where I figured I'd get my future employment, and farming would be a sideline for me. And when it came time to do my student teaching semester, I found out I was one class short of an agronomy degree. I was two classes short of an animal science degree. And they don't allow you to take any classes other than your student teaching. They don't allow you to take classes while you're student teaching. So I had to wait until the semester had already started, and it was too late for the computer system to catch me. And I enrolled in a class by videotape in rangeland management. So I needed one more agronomy class, and that was the only one I could take on videotape. I didn't have to actually attend class, and I could start at any time. So I was able to start that after the semester had already started. And when I went in to take my final in that class, the professor, he asked me what I was doing after I graduated. I said, well, I'd probably get a teaching job. And he said, no, you're not. You're coming to work for me. He said, you are going to graduate school, and I am paying for it. I said, okay, good deal. I guess I'm going to graduate school. And it was a fantastic experience for me. Exposed me to, research procedures and so forth. I do sometimes regret not going on and getting my PhD. By the time I finished my master's, I was done with school. I was done with living in poverty, and so I took a job, and sometimes I do regret not going and finishing, but that's the way life works. So, how do I deal with farmers and cover crops? It's odd because people think that cover crops are something new. They're really not. Cover crops have been used since the dawn of farming. There
How are you dealing with
writings
farmers about cover
ancient
crops?
Roman
Okay, I will be to work with cover
agriculture
crops, but
writings
they are very conservative about their business.
written in ancient Rome that talk about using cover crops, talk about using hairy vetch before you in rotation with wheat to increase crop yields. And so it's not, there's nothing new there about cover crops. The only thing different is that once we thought, we started to use synthetic fertilizers and herbicides and so forth, we thought we could eliminate the use of cover crops. Prior to World War II, it was very, very common in your part of the world to have a rotation of like corn, oats, and clover, and the clover would be pastured and then plowed under to provide nitrogen for the corn crop that would follow. It was a very successful rotation, and really did not require nitrogen fertilizer. So it's only been in the last 60 or 70 years or so that we got away from using cover crops. So we're just really going back in time, and in a way, we're going back in time. So we're the cover crop thing is actually being revived, not invented. And what's different this time, though, is we used to plow those cover crops under because we thought the tillage was essential. And now we realize that you can farm without tillage. And leaving that cover crop residue on the surface as a mulch is really beneficial to the soil. It's really beneficial to soil biology, the earthworms and so forth, and also very very good at retaining moisture and stopping erosion. So that's been the change in the cover crop business. I mean, basically, it's something we got away from for a few years. We thought we could replace cover crops with commercial fertilizer. We found out, yeah, we can replace our nitrogen, but we can't replace what it does for the soil organic matter. And the other revolution has been combining cover crops with no-till. And that's been a real game changer. That's cover crops and no-till are like fire and gasoline together. I mean, it really is synergistic for soil improvement, and it is truly amazing the soil quality improvement you can get when you combine those two. My grandfather, that was a bone collector. Yeah, my be my great grandfather, Dan Yoakum, in the 1880s. There were these. Once we started farming this area, we after about 10 years, the natural fertility of the prairie was kind of depleted, and we found we had a need to start fertilizing. So there were, all these sites of these big bison massacres where there are all these skeletons of bison just in big piles. And so my great grandfather, Dan Yoakum, was on a crew to go and collect those bison bones and in Oklahoma, in what at that time was Indian Territory. So they went and collected bison bones on a wagon, put them on a railroad car, and shipped them back up to Colony, Kansas, where they were ground up and used for a source of phosphorus fertilizer. And so, yeah, my great grandfather was a bone collector.
You guys are native of KS. Yes,
I am a native of Kansas. My family home, where I grew up, is located a little town of Colony, Kansas, and the original name of Colony was Divide, and the reason it's called Divide is because it was a railroad town, and a lot of my family originally worked on the railroad in addition to farming, and the reason they located the original town of Divide there, was because it was the highest point in elevation between Kansas City and the Gulf of Mexico. And so that if the train stopped there, no matter which direction they were going, it was downhill. So it was really easy to get, that's a real advantage with a big, huge locomotive if it's starting out going downhill. They could really get efficiently start the engines that way and get a good head of steam up. And so, yeah, you can be there at Colony and just see for miles in every direction. So it was, the original name was Divide, and at some point in the 1880s, it was for some reason changed to Colony, and but that's where I grew up. So you had ancestors that worked on the railroad as well, huh? Oh, wow. That's fascinating. So he came to Northern Illinois after the Mexican Revolution. That's fascinating. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was a farmer in Illinois and Mexico.
That's
He was the
fascinating.
president of Foreign Bureau in Mexico.
So after the Mexican Revolution, he decided to head to Illinois, huh?
mm, oh, boo.
Yeah, and Kansas and Colorado.
Very interesting. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, Caesar.
Please
fun.
subscribe for my podcast on
Do
YouTube
this
and
again
for In
sometime.
Progress Daily Twitter. Bye.